Oh, I had to bring this up. Christina told me to tell you.
Shout out to new queen of garbage.
New queen of garbage.
She couldn't come in today, but she was. I go because I told her how much fun she was gonna. I was like, you're gonna have so much fun doing this. And then I go, how'd it go? She goes, I'm the new queen. And I go, what? She goes, I'm the new queen of garbage. And I was like, oh, I knew you were gonna at least come close to the title.
How much of that did you know?
I know a lot.
Did you know that when you were like started there? Did that come out after like as you?
Well, I think you know,
together.
yeah, you know little by little, right?
Sure.
Like
She doesn't put all those cards on the table at the first date.
There were some wild, like, you know, we go like in the valley. I don't know how well you know LA, but we'd be like in the valley, and you know, she'd show me this neighborhood, and like I grew up in these apartments, and I was like, oh, these suck. And then you know, like
yeah, she said it was all like single moms. And
That was pre-Indian stepdad though.
Pre-Indian stepdad.
My
that's right.
Indian stepdad is the funniest sentence I've ever heard in my life.
And my 3 Indian stepsisters.
Yeah. That should be. That's what he was saying. That's got to be a book.
That's the name of someone's
With her on
novel.
the cover
I know.
like this.
My Indian stepdad.
And then he was out of his fucking mind, you know.
Yeah, he was a criminal.
He was a real criminal.
Yeah, she said they were like shooting out windows and flattening tires and shit.
That ice cream, he loved his pistachio ice cream. I know these stories.
what
And
she
then,
said.
Yeah, she told us. Yeah,
and then we pulled into a parking lot, and he's like, oh, hold on a second. And then fucking just stabbed the guy's tire. And then the crazier part to me is like that in and of itself, you're like, that's super psychotic, is that he gets in the car and that her mom was like,
yeah, like laughing maniacally.
yeah, and they were like in it together, like this fucking guy owes me money.
Her dad too. I mean, first of all, the story of her parents getting out.
That's crazy.
That's
going to an internment camp.
That's nuts.
Where
man.
now, because they were in an internment camp in Italy, and he's like resents Italians so much, and I'm like, well, you were refugees.
Haven't had a slice in 50 years.
He's like, the Italians are the cockroaches of Europe. That's like his.
That's his thing.
quote
That's his
about-
slogan.
He hates them, and you're like, yeah, they took you in though.
Yeah.
But he's like, fuck them. But yeah, then to Canada, and then did she tell you the story about why they moved to the States? It's like it seems like it's out of a comedy because he's working in Windsor, living in Windsor.
Forklifts.
Because Canada, no. So Canada, he's a mechanic, right?
Right.
Canada is more welcoming to immigrants and refugees.
Mm-hmm.
So they settle in Windsor, Ontario, which is across the bridge basically
From Detroit. Right.
So he's going into Detroit to work, but they're residing in Canada. He's like, one day I see a man in Detroit, a black guy, cool guy, with a nice coat and a feather in his hat. And you're like, you mean a pimp?
Yeah.
and he's
Huggy
like,
bear?
He's like, this is who I would need to be with, these guys. And you're like, pimps.
Yeah.
And they just get in the car and drive to California. So like,
that was the inspiration.
He
for
was
it.
inspired by the pimp, and then went to California.
Yeah.
And
I love
then started pimping himself.
How much? I mean, go.
Sorry, I was saying, her life is crazy.
It's crazy.
It's proper crazy.
What is your role in that side of the family? Do you have what are your experiences with them?
I mean, I don't know. There's a few things like
He passed, right? Her Indian stepdad passed.
Indian stepdad passed. Her mother passed as well.
Oh, okay.
So the first time I met her mother, what was funny to me was she was like, my mom's crazy. And I was like, yeah, my mom's crazy.
Every mom's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, we're crazy. She was like, no, my mom's crazy. And I go, okay. So we've been dating, I don't know, a few months or something at that point. And she's like, okay, we're going to go to this restaurant now. And she's like, again, just so you know, I go, just relax. It's fine. So
I got this.
we sit at this restaurant. Her mother comes in. She's got her hair's done, blonde lady, very nicely done, like a well put together lady, like nice sweater, pearls.
Yeah, she said she was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Has her makeup, nails, like she looks very presentable. You're like, this is a nice, elegant woman in her probably late 50s or something at the time. And I go, hi, and she's like, hi. And then Christina's here, I'm over here. She goes, and she does she had this like little point with her. She goes, I went to Bloomingdale's and this fucking tried to tell me. And I was like, yo. And I look at her and she goes,
I told you.
I told you. And I was like, and then she just like goes off on the fucking from Bloomingdale's.
It's wild.
And she had a wild mouth. The dad did too. The dad.
I mean, I don't think I doubt he was a saint. You know what I mean?
She told us her dad would take her to Club Med.
Club Med.
It's crazy.
Crazy. First time I met her dad. I can 100% tell you when this happened, because it must have been 2005, because I think that's the year that Michael Richards was on stage at the Laugh Factory.
That makes sense.
And dropped the N-bomb. And we went to his house the weekend after. He goes, "What the fuck's the problem with saying that?" And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Why?" He's like, "If somebody's an N-word, why can't I say it?"
Jesus.
And I go, "Yeah." I go, "Right?" He goes, "There's one across the street. Look at his lawn." And I go,
What the fuck?
Those Eastern Europeans play by their own fucking rules.
They don't
dude.
give a shit about
And they're like,
anything.
words. What do you mean?
Yeah,
It's
word.
like so like I was in an internment camp for fucking
they're
4
like,
years.
"What?
Words? What?
This guy's in trouble?" I go, "He's in big trouble."
His life is ruined.
He's like, "I don't get it." Anyway, how long you been dating my daughter? It's like, oh man, this
How
is
long you been
nuts.
dating my daughter?
This is nuts. So yeah, they were pretty. They were like intense Eastern European,
Yeah.
like hardcore ones. And yeah, her mom was complicated. Like she would be sweet, but also had this like
Sure.
fly off the handle. I remember one time she had ended up in the hospital. I think she had fainted at a lamp store or something like that. And we went to the hospital to
Smells
visit
like
her.
a slip and fall.
Yeah, no kidding.
And she goes, "I had a stroke. And we were like, oh shit. And then the doctor was like, he took us outside. He was like, "She didn't have a stroke." And we were like, "What?" And he's like, "She didn't have a stroke. She fell." But her mother, who was going through a lot of things, was like the attention
Yeah.
of
Gotcha.
that. And then I made a fatal error, which is that I was bedside with her, and I decided to try to lighten the mood with a joke. And it was like a simple, playful joke. I was like, "Well, when we get out of here, would you like to go dancing or something? Maybe we can find a nice club to go dancing at tonight." And she was like, "Fucking dancing. I had stroke. Nobody can dance." And I was like, "Oh." And I thought it would be like playfully dismissed. you
Yeah.
know?
Like, oh, Tommy.
Yeah. Just like something to like, just lighten the mood. She got really, really mad about that. That like, who's gonna fucking dance if they had a stroke? And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, but you didn't have
One,
one."
you didn't have a stroke.
So, but she got very mad about that. Very mad.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great episode, man. Christina's awesome.
She's great.
It was the
Unbelievable.
most requested, longest awaited get. And like, we don't do episodes
'Cause-
outside of the studio. Like,
Yeah.
we've turned down a lot of people of
Sure.
like, no, we're not doing it.
But there's a special level of
But
trash.
I was like, we have to,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she's
It's
like, I'm not
nuts.
coming to New York. I'm like, I picked up on that over the past 3 years.
And she had all the shit that I know would.
She showed up from the emergency room.
Oh,
They
yeah,
had to-
that's right.
Josh said we had to push it 30 minutes. She's
Yeah.
like, she's at the emergency room right now.
Yeah.
Something. She's bleeding, and I'm like,
The
we
kid
can-
stabbed her.
I'm like,
What's going on over there?
We can cancel this.
She would told me, she goes, "I cut myself. I just cut myself, by the way, with the same fucking knife. So maybe we should get rid of these."
Man, these Seguras are a little fucking.
And I filleted open my finger. It was gnarly, and I was trying to like just wrap it myself, and I was bleeding through it. And I was like, "I got to go." So I went to urgent care, and they put steri strips and everything on. I was just lazy trying to slice something, and I went through my finger. She saw these. My kids are always grabbing scissors, screwdrivers.
Yeah, they sound like
hammers,
great
knives.
kids. From
Yeah.
what I mean, I've never met them. I love you and Christina. These kids, I hope I never meet.
Bert and Tom, Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call two bears, one cave.